ASA. Game On Daily.
Welcome to the world of Q&A, sir. We've already had Joe with the points for reminding me I'm on top chat. I can hear me. Give me a sec. Why can I hear me? Why can I hear me? Because I've got Chrome open, playing myself back to myself. Right, okay. It is Q&A, sir, episode... I don't know, 39? I think we're on episode 39. These are mushrooms. Yes, there are mushrooms. I don't like how loud the OST is, so give me a second. Just chill that out a little bit. Chill that out a little bit. A little bit more. Right, here we go. So, episode 39. Loads of stuff to talk about. There's some Last of Us stuff, some VR stuff that I've thrown in there just because I like talking about the VR stuff. There's some other topics that are slightly off the bottom of my notepad, so I can't see them right now, but there were plenty of topics. We've already had the background identified. The background is World of Warcraft, but you get extra points if you can identify the name of the zone. Which World of Warcraft zone am I sitting in right here, right now? There's also things to talk about and things to do, but before all of that, a word from our sponsor. Can I be bothered with a word from our sponsor? I don't really get along with them anymore. That's not true. I do, because our sponsor is, of course, GameOnDaily. Is this the right thing? Yay! Here's GameOnDaily. It's a website, it's a platform, it's a place to discover content creators and content all around. Talk to people, comment on news, keep up with all the gaming things from all of the different platforms. It's wonderful. Painful Discourse is a nerd. It is indeed Zangarmarsh, yes. My only... it's probably my favourite Warcraft zone for a little while. In the Burning Crusade, second zone that you went to. GameOnDaily, what are we talking about? The Mushroom Kingdom, Patrick, I'm afraid it is not. It is not the Mushroom Kingdom. So let's start like we always do. No, let's start with a little introduction and some house rules, as it were, and how the show works, how it's structured. You all know, because all the names that I've seen here, I see Connor, Patrick, Painful Discourse, Isla, Peter, I've seen some others as well. Chris Blackburn's here, Joe's here. Thank you, everyone, for coming along and wishing me a happy Thursday. Yes, I appreciate that. We have... Who's the guest sneaking up on me? I actually can't remember what those are called at all. It's been a long, long time. So Burning Crusade was like, I don't know, 14 years ago or something. So, I don't know. Some nefarious, glowy creature that wants a cuddle is sneaking around in the background. Exactly, Patrick. It is tall. Painful Discourse, you've never really played World of Warcraft. Yes, you have, because you recognise that this zone was Zangarmarsh. So you must have. You must have explored it at least some. What's more weird, Painful Discourse, is I've never liked World of Warcraft. I've played it for a phenomenal number of hours, but always like full of resentment and bitterness. Played it a lot though. Played it a lot. Wonder if it's more than any other game. Might be. Might be. So, what have we all been playing? We always start with this. No, wait, I got sidetracked. I'm talking about the show and how it works. We'll get on to what we're playing in a minute. Before that, as the show goes, we have this conversational format where I speak bollocks and you speak bollocks back to me, and we get a nice little flow going and talk about whatever we want to talk about. But we also have a formal way to submit questions. So at some point, whenever Isla is not in the middle of vault hunting, YouTube's question and answer box will pop up. You can submit any questions that you like into there, or comments, or whatever you want. You can, no riddles, we're not doing riddles, but you can put whatever you want in there, and at the end of the show we'll address all of them one by one. Darge, I am surprised you specifically said you weren't going to be here, but you are blessing us with your presence. Thank you very much. Berserker this, Jordan's here as well. Good. The other thing, the other new feature, the other way that you can talk, if you're not satisfied with typing into chat and you don't want to type into the Q&A box either, there is the option to hop onto Discord. This is new. This was introduced last week and nobody took it up. You don't have to take it up. I don't mind. But I do have on the GameOnDaily server right now, there is a category channel. Discord's confusing. I don't know how it labels its hierarchy, but there's a little bit over on the left called Q&A with a voice room called the waiting room. If you plonk yourself in the waiting room, then you might need a little bit of patience, but just sit there for a while. And when I notice, I just drag you in for a couple of minutes to say your piece, ask your question, say anything that you want to, either on the topics that we're talking about or other topics that you want. Again, no riddles. And we'll do that. Again, I don't know if anybody wants to come onto Discord and have a little chat, but the option is there. It's a little bit experimental. It might be a disaster, but it might be fun. We shall see. So let's go over this. Patrick, you're playing Duel 2. Is that like Bejeweled 2? Or is Duel 2 a different game? I've never heard of Duel 2. It sounds terrible. Peter, you bought something yesterday. You haven't played it. Oh, Palindrome Syndrome. Is that a real game? Connor, Hunt is the game of the decade. I saw that you were on Steam playing Hunt earlier. So I can believe you that it is your game of the decade because you are still playing it. You play it a lot. Darge has sent a question. Darge, I'm afraid I can't. I know you're not likely to be here by the time I get to the questions. So there's not a lot I can do about it. Sorry, Darge. But I will definitely get to it later. Chris Blackburn, you're playing Titanfall 2, Far Cry New Dawn, and Quantum Break. So I've not played Far Cry New Dawn, but Titanfall 2 and Quantum Break. Titanfall 2's multiplayer is a bit of a clusterfuck at the moment, so I assume you are going through the campaign, which is a good campaign, and Quantum Break as well. I like Quantum Break. It was not very well received, and the TV episodes that you have to sit through are a little bit meh, but when you're actually in there playing the game, it was very good. I liked that one. Darge is playing Horizon Zero Dawn on the PC, and the facial expressions are gash, though. I can't remember the facial expressions on Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm playing through the Forbidden West still at the moment. Seamlessly carrying on, like, I don't know. Hopefully, people that were here can see that I have reconnected. I don't know what went wrong. OBS decided no, it's had enough of this show already. Killed it for me. I'm back, I'm live. If you're watching after the fact, then there would have been a little interruption. I may have pulled a silly face for a while. I don't really know how YouTube will handle it after the fact, how seamless that will be. But we're here, we're back. So, people that are here, what did I say before it crashed? Where were we? We were talking about Horizon. Okay, so yeah, I'm still playing Horizon Forbidden West myself. Still very slowly working through it. I'm probably like 50 hours into that game now, and I don't feel like I'm very close to the end or making much significant progress in the story, but I am still enjoying it. I do like shooting them dinosaurs. But let's start again. We're not going to actually start again, but give me your games. Keep coming at me with the games that you're playing. I want to know what's good. Who's playing Resident Evil 4? Who played Diablo at the weekend? These kind of things. Other ones that I've been playing. You probably saw, if you follow this channel or anything, you probably saw that I was playing Switchback VR, which is supposedly part of the Dark Pictures anthology series, but not really part of the series. It's a little side game that they made for PlayStation VR2, and it's a little bit odd. You sit in a roller coaster shooting stuff, which isn't as bad as it sounds. I made it sound terrible then. It's like it's a horror experience, and when it's working well, it's nicely jumpy and pretty entertaining. But I did find it rather buggy and strange as well. It's a game that may not have been quite ready at the point that it released. Still, good fun on the old PlayStation VR 2. And yeah. So Darge, you're playing... I'm not sure if that's a thing, so I'm just not going to read it. Connor's still playing Hunt Showdown, as you were 5 minutes ago, so no, that is not a massive surprise. Patrick, you played Diablo for a few hours over the weekend, but you've just been playing Elden Ring. Patrick, have you finished Elden Ring and you've now gone back to it? Or are you grinding through it? Joe, you pre-ordered Suicide Squad for 20 quid. I'm going to assume, I don't know games like practices and etiquette, but like you say, they've probably screwed up, and I suspect, yes, they'll cancel on you. But you never know. I'm rooting for you. I hope that they keep your 20 quid pre-order, and when the game comes out at 70 quid this year or next year, whenever it may be, that they deliver it to your doorstep. Connor, you're playing Cyberpunk. Tell me about Cyberpunk. Have you finished that before, or is this your first time through? I still haven't got all that far in Cyberpunk because it's a game that you can play reasonably well in virtual reality, and you can obviously piss around with the excessive ray tracing modes that are some excessive ray tracing is already in there, but they're also introducing full-on path tracing as well, which is a bit crazy. That'll push today's hardware over the edge. So I'm waiting. You played through it entirely as a street kid, and now you're going through as a nomad. I can't remember. I think the first character that I made that I intended to actually play through it with was a corpo. And then I've made the other two just to get like various bits of recordings and all the rest of it. So I would like to play Cyberpunk. It is a game that I fully intend to get through, but it's one that if I keep waiting, it's only going to get better. So Spriggan, well, sounds like a Steam key. No, he said he got it from Game. Game's a brick and mortar store in the UK, or it used to be. It's been relegated to the corner of some sports shops now, but they do have a website, but it's not a dodgy key selling site. Spriggan, you got Resident Evil 4 for 36 quid and The Last of Us for 35 quid. We'll talk about The Last of Us. If you've had a chance to download and play it, then that would be interesting. Idris Elba is on his way to Cyberpunk in the Phantom Liberty DLC. Yes, indeed. That's the other thing I'm waiting for, because the DLC takes place partway through the story. It's not post-story content, it's mid-game content. So I am happy to wait for that to be there. God, I haven't even finished I finished The Witcher 3, but I haven't done the DLC for The Witcher 3 yet. Oh, so much to do. I ignored the ground branch game message. I ignored your ground branch game message. I don't know what that means, Dodge. There are definitely words in the language that I speak, but I put them all together and I don't understand what you're saying. I would like to check it out. Is ground branch the name of a game? I'm gonna assume that is. Spriggan, you've never heard the game part. You used to shop there a lot back in the early 2000s. You got Far Cry 1 at launch for 26 quid at Game. Oh, maybe they used to have good prices there. I remember picking up Resident Evil 2 for the Sega Saturn from Game. True story. Why I remember it, I don't know. I remember it came out and it was quite rare for a game to come out on Saturn, so I went around. I used to have to go through town every day after school because I just did. And the first shop that I went in just to check this game out of curiosity with no intention to buy it, it was sold out, they didn't have it. So I went to a second shop and it was sold out and they didn't have it. So I went to a third shop, it was sold out and they didn't have it. So I went to a fourth shop and they had it and I was like, shit, and I bought it on the spot. I had no intention of playing it. But impulses, eh? Finally found it, had to buy it. Besides that, I can't remember any other experiences in Game. That's not true. I got one of my virtual reality headsets from Game. It was possibly the Oculus Rift CV1. So yeah, going out brick and mortar stores, it's a real thing I have done. I have lived a life, you know. And sometimes I remember parts of it. Connor, you want a Judge Dredd game? Is that too much to ask? That should not be too much to ask. There should be I mean, obviously there's been, I assume, some ancient Judge Dredd games, but a new one more in the vein of the film, not recent films. The film was freaking ages ago, but a gory first-person shooter you'd think would be easy. Maybe we'll get it from the Terminator and RoboCop developers as one of their next projects. You probably want something a little more polished, a little more quality than that. Back in those days, Spriggan says, PC games weren't expensive. Brand new top tier PC games were usually 25 to 35 quid. That's a brick and boomer shop. I like it. That's one of the things that I like about the PlayStation VR2 shopping experience at the moment, because the game is because they're like small indie studios mostly releasing small games, but you go into the store and look at that thing and all the games are like 20 to 30 quid, and it's such a nicer shopping experience than all games being 70 quid. So, and that's not commentary on it being virtual reality and being the best. That's just like price of games. Wasn't it nice when shopping was like, oh, I can impulse buy all kinds of things because they don't cost that much. I don't impulse buy things for 70 quid. Luap Nitsua, welcome, good evening. You're just in time for all of the virtual reality. Space Denizen, you want a Judge Dredd Robocop crossover in VR, of course. Let's talk about VR, shall we? Did I go through all my games? I didn't quite go all through my games. In fact, Luap Nitsua, we're still talking games. I'm not moving on to topics yet. Diablo 4. I know loads of you have played it. Patrick, you said you played it a few hours. What classes are we playing? What are we thinking? Are we more hyped for it than we were? Are we less hyped for it than we were? Was the beta brilliant? Is the game going to suck? Diablo was maybe my most anticipated pancake game of the year. I have to obviously like separate it off from the VR ones or it's got no chance. Pancake game can't compare to my precious virtual reality, but I do still play them. And the games that I had right at the top of my most anticipated pancake games list, Diablo was absolutely definitely one of them. Hades 2 is one of them. Starfield is one of them. Are there any others that I'm certain I'm looking forward to, like, in a big way? I don't know, there probably are. I probably just can't think of them off the top of my head, but Diablo was very much there. Patrick, you played a sorcerer and it was alright. Some of the rubber banding was real bad though. It really was, wasn't it? So I played, does the sorcerer have pets, by the way? So I played a necromancer for a little bit, and you have these 4 skeletons around you, and the most noticeable rubber banding was on my own pet skeletons. They were not working very well, but the necromancer was massively overpowered and managed to breeze through everything with those 4 skeletons. The game though, I don't know, like it's fun though. It's Diablo, says Patrick. For me it's Diablo, but it's definitely the PC side of Diablo rather than the console Diablo 3, which I think I liked more. So I'm still looking forward to Diablo 4. It looks gorgeous and it sounds amazing. I love the sound of the game. It's nice and dark, and there's like all kinds of gruesome interactivity in the environment that I enjoyed a lot. Because I'm dark, nasty person. Joe enjoyed the queuing as a Brit. Yes, except Joe, you can't see people pushing in front of you to bemoan the whole situation. So you lose that slight Britishness. And just, orderly sit in the queue. Patrick, you're ready for Hades 2. That's all you need. I adore the first Hades game, as I've said many times. So, yes, Hades 2. I'm going to be all over the day that it comes out. Or at least that's my plan. Diablo, I'm still going to get it, because it's Diablo, and I enjoyed a lot about it. But I run around wishing that I could roll through everything like I did in Diablo 3. Diablo 3 like got a lot of hate from the fan base of that franchise, and for good reason. Like when it came out, it had an always online requirement, which wasn't fashionable in those days, and it launched with terrible connectivity issues. There were days before people could actually play it reliably and properly. Login queues crash. Good couple of days of disaster, and the main reason for the online requirement was their real money auction house, which also wasn't very well received. It was they were ahead of the game on where NFTs and things are going, but it was not well received. People were not interested in the whole buying and selling and digital ownership at that point in time, and it had ramifications on the quality of the game at launch. But when it was working properly, people still kind of hated it. They didn't like the fact that you could only equip 6 skills at a time, and considered it to be pre-made for console, not as complicated as Diablo 2 before it. But then when it came out on console a full year later, it was so much a better game. They had stripped out the auction house by that point, but they also completely reworked all of the combat, all of the skills, because you cannot target in the same way on a control pad as you can on a keyboard and mouse. So they revamped all of the skills to make them make sense for a console player. And as a consequence of that, on the consoles you could play it with a controller, and on the PC you could play it with a keyboard and mouse, but they never brought controller support over to the PC version because they said it's a different game. We can't support both on PC. And for that reason, Diablo 3 was one of the only games ever that was better on console than on PC. Even in like ignoring technical difficulties on PC and games that just don't work as intended. Games that work as intended, Diablo 3 was better on console than PC. But Diablo 2 remastered and Diablo 4, they ditched that approach and say you're getting the same game. You're getting controller and keyboard and mouse support across the board, and we're going to make it work. We're going to put in a control scheme that we feel does the job, which is a little bit sad for me. That's why I didn't find it as satisfying to play as Diablo 3, because it is very evidently why you play it not quite so tailored for a controller. And most key to me is that the dodge button, they've got dodge on, you press B to dodge in whatever direction you want. It has a 5-second cooldown. Whereas Diablo 3 on a console, you could roll as often as you want. You could roll through all of the furniture and scenery, and it was great fun. Spriggan, hard disagree. Diablo plays much faster on a mouse and keyboard, and you have better access to your abilities. Well, yes, Spriggan, there's some truth to that. You obviously have a lot more targeting control, but movement and actions at the same time are more intuitive on a controller. So direct control of the character felt a lot better than click to move. And again, like, a lot of people, particularly that were already fans of Diablo, are going to disagree with me here because, of course, like Diablo 1 and 2 and action RPGs in general had already established a massive fan base that loved the way that those games played. So change is going to be bad to some people. But for me, I was never that into the action RPG PC scene where you have to click to attack things and then click to move. I get people love it, but it wasn't for me. Whereas you put Diablo 3 on the console, it suddenly felt very good to play. And I played through the entirety of Diablo 3 on PC with a Witch Doctor, got them to end game. Didn't play the end game, but got them to end game. But I just found it much more fun on console. Each to their own though on that kind of thing. Diablo 3 looked more like World of Warcraft than Diablo. That's the other big criticism that it got, Spriggan, is it was a lot more colourful and cartoony. It was still pretty dark. You still had like corpses hanging from torture equipment all over the place and things like that. But it was a lot more cartoony than people wanted. Whereas Diablo 4 is very much a step back towards crisp, gothic, realistic art style. Yes. Action RPG also included games like Gothic and... Oh no, you said the cursed game. I've never heard anyone say this game by name, and I don't know how you're supposed to say it. Those two letters do not give me sufficient information, so I'm just going to leave it at that and not mention the second game, Spriggan. Look, you were going to say, I view the world through rose-tinted glasses, but you should have said virtual reality goggles. Well, do I though? Sometimes I do. There's some things about like ages past of gaming that I do miss. Things like games not having microtransactions. Yes, thank you. Loved it very much. Would love to have that back. But I think I have a fairly clear, not overly tinted view of the past and how things are and how they were and how they will be. I can see everything. I can't see how things will be, obviously. It said ETH, and then Patrick says Yeeves. So we've already got a disagreement. Google says like knees to ease. Just ease, like Spriggan said. Coffee will solve everything. There are probably a few other games that have names that I don't understand, so I just avoid talking about them. The name is taken from a story about a mythical city called, I've already forgotten, Ease, off the coast of Brittany that sunk into the sea after shenanigans with a demon. Are those games good? I didn't even know that they were action RPG games. I assumed, based on when they get recommended to me and when they don't, I assumed they were turn-based. Yves Guillemot. No, don't confuse me. Don't confuse me. We're talking about Diablo still. So, not many people are chiming up with their experiences of Diablo 4, though. It was free. All you had to do was download the almost 100 gigabytes and then play it in those 3 days. Surely some of you gave it a go. But if not, that's fine. That's fine. Who is going to get it in June? And who's going to chance that it will come to Game Pass soon enough and save their 70 to 100 quid? I know he's the top guy at Ubisoft. I know, Darge. Patrick, how far did you get with it? You said you played for a few hours. I think I got to level 15 odd on the Necromancer. You're kind of hoping they delay it. What's coming out in June that makes you want them to delay Diablo? I have concerns about its battle passes and stuff. Yeah, Joe's going to wait for Game Pass. That makes a lot of sense. I have concerns because you have... The game is like... It's dripping with atmosphere. It's really nasty and dark and everything that you want Diablo to be. And then there's going to be a store that lets you get a battle pass. And if you get to level 25 in the battle pass, you're going to get a Sparkle Pony. And if you get to level 100, you're going to get to change your Sparkle Pony's trail to have more glitter. And it's like... weird. I'm not sure about battle passes. Even cosmetic only ones. Like... just tearing through any atmosphere that the game world has. And this is something that I feel completely decimated World of Warcraft and many other MMORPGs, because it has become the de facto MMORPG model to sell cosmetic trash throughout, and it just takes away all sense of world building. So they're gonna have to be very careful with that to retain any good feel in the game for me. But other people are less averse to battle passes than I am, which is weird because I'm not completely against them. Like, they have their place. It's just not in £70 games for me. Patrick, they've been talking about cutting content and crunching to get it out in June. You'd rather they just release it around Halloween or something. It doesn't look like it's going to be short on content though, and they are intending it as like a supported live service game with seasons and ongoing content. So cutting content to deliver later isn't necessarily bad for a game like that. I don't know what they're planning to do story-wise, if like the launch version of the game is a contained story and then they're going to carry the story forwards, or if they're just going to keep adding like sideways content as you go on through the seasons, so that they can add more battle passes and sell you more shit. I don't know. That's Diablo anyway. Microsoft Studios could do with a hefty dose of crunch, in your opinion? It's always a slightly controversial topic, but I would say, like, gaming is the only industry in the entire universe where people celebrate delays. Like, really, in any other industry, you announce a 3-month delay to any project, you're probably incompetent. Someone somewhere along the line is incompetent, whether it's the people delivering that project or the people like estimating when it is due. Someone fucked up. But in gaming, it's like, yeah, we're going to get a better game, it got delayed, and it's not wrong. Like, it is better to delay it than to release some bullshit, right? But it's still always a little bit strange to see it celebrated, see that budget creep, that scope creep, that incompetence, and go, yay, it's going to be a better game. At the end of the day, as long as it is a better game, we've all won out, right? It's not our problem that publishers have to spend more money on getting it where it needs to be. Any game that comes out and functions is a modern miracle. Let's talk about Lilith punishing Darge. No, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about The Last of Us, because that's come up a couple of times through conversation. The Last of Us is just released on PC, and it's a bit of a disaster. Sometimes just frustratingly so, sometimes entertainingly so. I haven't got it myself, but you've probably seen various things going around for it, but it's a mess. But it does raise like a few talking points around that game, around PC gaming, around pricing, around all kinds of things. So the first thing that I'll just mention there is how bad it is, right? So there's lots of speculation on the extent to which Iron Galaxy helped with the porting of this game, and to which it was Naughty Dog themselves, the holy Naughty Dog, porting the game to PC. But what they've done is release something that Darge, I literally read 2 of your comments. What's the word when you put them together? Begins with a C. Fuck it doesn't matter. Don't upset me. I read your comments. I put them together. I formed like a whole backstory for you about Lilith punishing you for being naughty. Decided we're not doing that. Naughty. Not combined. There's a much better word. There's a much better word that I used to use all the time in Excel formulas to pull things together. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't want to play word game. So Spriggan says Naughty Dog say they did most of the work on it, but Iron Galaxy seems to be getting the blame for the whole thing because of Arkham Knight. Yeah, this is my understanding of the situation. But you've got the Holy Naughty Dog and you've got Iron Galaxy, who have a bit of a past with some dodgy PC ports. Somewhere between the two of them, they've released The Last of Us Part 1 on PC, and regardless of what kind of hardware you play it on, it seems to be properly fucked up. So initially you install it and it compiles shaders, not consolidate. There's a different one. It's like concertate, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Not connect. Don't try. Give up. Everybody give up on the word. Conflate, kind of, Patrick, but it's not conflate. No, you made me forget what I was saying. So it came out on PC. It's a disaster. You install it. You have to wait for an hour for it to compile shaders, which is weird because compiling shaders is like a dream phrase in the PC space for the last couple of years, because PC gaming in general has an ongoing DirectX 12 issue with stutter. Contraction, thank you, Peter. It's not Chris Blackburn has got the one that I was actually looking for. Concertinate. Concertinate. I don't know. That's the one from the Excel formula, but contraction is a good fit. Look. I said I don't want to play words, but thank you for helping me with my missing words. So, compiling shaders for an hour, which is supposed to be the antidote to stutter in PC games. So it's what PC gamers have been asking for forever, but they got more than they bargained for with The Last of Us. You have to sit there for an hour, depending on your spec, but usually about an hour, and then you get to go in the game, and then it crashes anyway. Crashes, underperforms, exceeds RAM limits, pops up errors, stutters, generally falls over its own face over and over again. So there's a thing. Whose fault is it? Isn't really something that I can answer, because I don't know. I'm going to blame Microsoft. I'm blaming Microsoft. Naughty Dog are a developer that have proven themselves capable of wonderful things when they've got a nice solid API from Sony. But you get Microsoft's API involved and it all goes to shit, right? Let's just blame Microsoft for everything as a theme for the show. Not every week, but just this week I think we'll blame Microsoft. So because of evil Microsoft technicians, The Last of Us did not release very well on PC. Which is definitely, if we're pointing blame, that's exactly where it will go, right? Patrick, they should have just actually delayed it instead of trying to get it out close to the show. Yes. There's a couple of other things that they've done. So, ignoring the fact that it doesn't work at all, they've also, in the UK at least, charged 50 quid for it. Whereas on the PlayStation dashboard right now at this moment in time, The Last of Us Part 1 is 70 quid. Now, I'm sure they didn't plan on the game launching as a complete fucking disaster. So why is it 20 quid cheaper for a Sony game on PC than it is on PlayStation? Why is that okay? Why are they treating like PlayStation fans like shit? I would understand if it launched at their horrible, like, this isn't the 70 quid discussion over and over again, but if it had launched at that on PlayStation and then at some point over the last like almost year that it's been out, it had dropped down to 50 and they wanted to release the PC version aligned with the PlayStation price, that would make some sense. But it seems a little bit insulting to their own fan base to charge 20 quid cheaper on the other platform. PlayStation fans like that. It's their kink. I'm a PlayStation fan, Patrick. I love all of the consoles. Mitchy Poo, welcome. PlayStation players enjoy paying more. See, my plan for The Last of Us, I was actually a little torn because I fully expect PlayStation Plus to have The Last of Us within the next few months or so. I didn't want to pay I don't want to pay 50 quid, let alone 70 quid for a game that's remastered when it arguably shouldn't have been. So I decided I'm going to wait until it goes into the subscription service. But at the same time, I've got a PC that's much more powerful than my PlayStation. So part of me was just looking over like, yeah, do I want all the bells and whistles of that PC version? Should I wait for it to go free on PlayStation, or do I want that version over there for a bit of money? Fortunately for me, that version over there is actually dog poo, so I can wait. I'm going to wait for that PlayStation Plus free in the subscription opportunity to play the game. But I thought, while we're talking about how bad Last of Us is, I thought TV show's a little bit interesting as well, right? Who watched The Last of Us? What was it on? I can't remember what service it was on, but who watched The Last of Us on TV? I'm going to avoid spoilers for the story. I'm sure most people are fully aware of how the story plays out and how part 2 plays out as well. But HBO over in the States and Sky and Now TV over here, I think. No spoilers, Dodge, you're okay. It's funny, the TV series started really well. The first 4 or 5 episodes, I was watching it on TV going, The Last of Us is better as a TV series than it is as a game. Because the gameplay in The Last of Us, when it came out on the PlayStation 3 and the versions that I have played of it, the gameplay was a little bit wank. It's a beloved game that again, people will disagree with me. Whoever said that I've got rose-tinted goggles, Last of Us on the PlayStation 3, sorry. Gameplay was a little bit wank. So I was watching it on TV, seeing how they changed the delivery of the story. They give you a little bit more wordy exposition in some places, and they cut out big chunks where you would be walking along having your conversations and fighting your zombies and stuff. And I thought, actually, the pacing and the structure of this show work better as a TV series than they do as a game. And the emotional beats hit harder in the TV series than they did in the game. Until the end, and then you get to the end of the Last of Us TV series, and they kind of flunk it. And the emotional hit at the end of it wasn't delivered anywhere near as well. The pacing goes to shit for the last 2 or 3 episodes. And it goes far more on the nose, basic in the way that it delivers the characters' developments and emotions and all the rest of it. So I don't know. I went from this is a really, really good TV series that's better than the game to actually TV series can't do these things as well as games. So I'm gonna enjoy loving games more. Mitchy Poo, you watched the entire series. It was okay. It had its moments, but you wouldn't say it's the GOAT as some purported to be. But what would you say about the game, Mitchy Poo? Did you adore the game as so many people do? Baz, episode 5 was the best one. I'm not going to ask you which one that was because I don't want to give spoilers. I can't quite remember which one was which. There were definitely some good episodes in there. And the first several episodes, all of them were hitting pretty hard and doing really well. And it was neat to see the moments and dialogue options and scenery that were pulled from the game directly. And worked so well in the TV setting anyway. But they did, for me, dropped the ball as it went on. Skipped a little bit too much that they shouldn't have skipped. Skipped a few too many of the zombies that needed to have a bit more presence. And delivered things a little bit too bluntly. Painful Discourse, why are you yelling about the boob room? What's happened? What have I missed? Darge, why are you yelling God Save the Queen? Wank and slags and bollocks. Yeah. I see. I understand why you're shouting it now. I understand. Alright, and Painful Discourse is just in there with the combo breaker. I get what's happening. So, I don't know. Anybody got any thoughts on The Last of Us besides that? Or should I speed through? Today's been a very long day, so if we speed through these topics, I'm okay with that. That's not going to upset me. I'm going to take this opportunity to remind you again that we do have the option for, what's that thing called? Discord. Anybody that fancies, there's it's a soft limit because I haven't set the timer up yet, but there's a 2-minute limit. But if you want to come in and say something, you can come onto Discord, you can appear on the screen if you want, or you can just go voice if you want. I don't really mind. Say your piece, ask your question, contribute whatever you want, sing us a little song. and then we'll move on from there. That option is open. All you need to do is join the GameOnDaily Discord server, pop yourself in the Q&A so waiting room, and when I get to a convenient beat, I will drag you in and get there. Drop the Discord link in chat. I can't. Everything is confusing to me. I don't understand Discord. I don't like it. It's all got some bullshit interface and UI that I don't like. But I'm there. I'm in it. I can make it work. Patrick, your daughter is currently yelling at you, so you think that would be bad for my ears? Yes. Yes. Fix whatever's wrong. Help your daughter. Yeah. And there is the Discord link. Thank you, Ina, for putting that in there. Let's go to the next topic. Shall we talk? Oh, of course we're going to talk about PlayStation VR2. Why not? Mitch Poo, you're also not a big fan of the Last of Us game series. You'd agree with me, you'd rather consume the IP in a TV series format. See, that's what I thought. That's what I thought at first. I didn't expect to think that going into it, because games are always better. I did not see what Connor said. Games is my medium of choice. I love playing games. I believe in their ability to convey stories in ways that TV cannot. I think they've got a ways to go to be doing it, to reach their potential. But as a medium goes, as an entertainment medium, it is my favourite. Oh, Connor, E3 was just officially canned. That was one of my topics, and now it's happened. Officially. So let's slot that one in ahead. I was going to go onto the PlayStation VR2, but we're going to talk about E3 instead. Officially canned, I assume they've announced via Twitter or wherever else, the ESA, ReedPop, whoever, the various people and entities that control E3 have come out and said it's officially cancelled. So earlier on this week, and the reason that this was already slated as one of the topics was Ubisoft pulled out. They were one of the few only major publishers that were confirmed to be showing at E3. They have pulled out, and I think in the aftermath of that, Sega and Tencent pulled out as well. Either pulled out or confirmed that they were never planning to be there. It left E3 with pretty much nobody going, but lots of publishers setting up their own events around it. And this has been, so we all know E3 was like gaming highlight of the year for everybody across all platforms, because it was when we learned of all of the exciting things that were coming. It was the buzz time for like essentially marketing, but in a good way, where we all found out about brilliant games that were coming in the next 10 years sometimes. So it had its flaws, but it was an event. It suffered not just from COVID, it suffered before COVID, because before all of that happened, they opened the event up to the public to get a little bit more money out of it. So it changed from this industry marketing showcase to a public event, which isn't necessarily bad, but it changed the vibe of the show. And a lot of people weren't happy with that. The people that normally go and cover it were not so pleased that it was becoming more like other conventions around the world. But then COVID hit. So this big public event suddenly wasn't a big public event. Dodge, I see you there. I see your message. You have a good sleep. I hope everything with your daughter is okay by morning. I don't know what the situation is, and I don't expect you to say so right there, but I hope everything is fine with that. And yes, go sleep. E3 suffered massively with COVID when events had to shift dramatically because nobody could go to them. And last year's E3 was an attempt at an online event, which I had media access to last year's E3, and it was fucking awful. They had clearly put some effort or paid somebody to put some platform together, but they had built like a mini social media / forum platform for all of the media people and all of the developers and all the rest of it to sign up and arrange online meetings and kind of use as a forum / comms platform. And it had you customizing an avatar and setting a picture of yourself, and it was just terrible. It was terrible. But this year it was supposed to come back. This year everyone could go to E3. They could get all of the big publishers, they could get the platform holders, they could get the public, they could get the media back in person doing the event properly, and nobody wanted to. And as of this week, we found out absolutely nobody wanted to. Peter, you used to go to E3 in the 80s. It was great as a trade show. Yes, it was It was that. It was a trade show, but also, yeah, it was the big marketing event, wasn't it? So, so it's sad that it's gone. But you know who's not sad that it's gone? Summer Game Fest. What a bunch of dickheads. Just to speak plainly about their response. So immediately when Ubisoft pulled out of E3, before E3 as an event had been completely cancelled, they put their own blog post up and their own announcement up saying that Ubisoft are doing their own event in the week of June, called Ubisoft Play or Ubisoft Connect, or I don't know, whatever they call it, some generic name like that. They're going to do their own event, their own showcase, like all of the other publishers do. And then there was a little retweet from Summer Game Fest saying Ubisoft are doing their own event as part of Summer Game Fest, and there's nothing. Ubisoft has said nothing about their stupid little event. This is what Summer Game Fest has been for the last 3 years. They see anything that's going on and they just latch onto it and pretend that it's part of their show. They present it as if they're organising all of this and they're bringing it all together. They're dickheads. And I'll watch Summer Game Fest probably. Like, it has its merits. Just like the Game Awards, they do have their own showcase and they do have a lot of like good publishers present and big announcements and things like that. But I find them totally lacking in ethics. And it's gross, and I hope that one day that bites them in the arse. This is the way of the world, though. I always hope this. Like, if karma was really a thing, wouldn't the world be wonderful? But it's not, and people being dickheads always come out on top. So Summer Game Fest is probably going to replace E3 entirely, and the more slimy, gross stuff they do, the more likely that is to happen. It will be effective. You find Keighley a bit off-putting personally. I don't like his legs. He shouldn't have legs. He shouldn't show them on TV. He wears big clumpy shoes and always looks funny on stage. Patrick doesn't like his face. I don't want to necessarily attack him personally. I don't know how much of this like latch onto everything directive comes from him. Probably does though. I remember the first year of Summer Game Fest, when we were starting up with GameOnDaily and we were covering things, they did exactly what they're doing now, latching on to other people's events, and we naively believed them and thought that they had like a say in what was happening and that they were structuring these events and organising things. So we set our own live schedule around it to cover certain things, and as it turned out, they didn't even have the times correct for half of them. So at that point, I kind of recognised that they were just full of shit. Yeah, that was the thing that happened, and now I see them still doing it, and I don't know. Oh no, YouTube did something weird. It's just that grin he has, it's terrifying. My stream is fine. Nobody's got the OST yet, I'm very surprised. Spriggan, you're sure everyone is chomping at the bit for more Skull and Bones footage. They should scrap that game if they can't change it to have you actually sailing the boats. Skull and Bones is very unfortunate right now. You sail a boat using WASD W or up on the left analog stick to move the boat forwards. Why did they do that? Is it Diablo? No, it's not Diablo. Ah, I see, Isla. So the problem would be that my other stream probably had that same idiot on it. That is me. So yeah, E3 is dead, officially now. Nobody is going there. Most of the publishers will have their own events. Jeff Keighley and Summer Game Fest, well, snidely put up their own event half an hour before as a pretend introduction so they can claim ownership of other people's work. Try and get all of the credit for it. I would do my... Oh my goodness, there's someone in the waiting room. I would do my utmost to avoid watching anything on their channel barring their own content that they've produced themselves, because that is all they deserve. Painful Discourse is waiting in the waiting room. I am going to assume that everything is going to work perfectly. Just so you know, Painful Discourse, I'm going to drag you into the live room in a minute. You will probably hear me, but the stream won't hear you immediately. I will let you know when the stream can hear you. So, yeah, that's exciting. Lou up Nitsua, even though many people have pre-booked hotels, time and other bookings to cover E3, it's great for Xbox's event. Yeah, that is... It's a shame, but it's also not entirely their fault, because they obviously fully intended for this event to go ahead, and everybody else disappeared out of it, so I feel some sympathy for them because they've obviously put their own time and expense into arranging this thing. And for whatever reason, nobody wants to go. Presumably the fees and the, like, when the event is dying on its ass, suddenly the return on paying to be there diminishes drastically. And yes, everybody has pulled out together and decided to do their own thing. And in this age of broadcast capability where everyone can essentially reach the entire world off their own back without the ESA helping, I guess it's inevitable. But wasn't me, it was some other guy. Oh no, that sounds awful, Ayla. Unless the other person is more interesting. Painful Discourse, I'm dragging you into the live room now. Again, I might hear you. The stream won't, in theory, until I press a button. But this is brand new testing. Oh no, where've you gone? Painful Discourse, come back. I don't know what happened. I'm very distraught. So, in theory, what just happened? And what have I lost? I've lost my chat. Distraught I am. So, I have lost my chat. Here we go. I went to the waiting room. Painful Discourse is back in the waiting room. So what I'm trying to do, Painful Discourse, is move you into the live one. I see you've returned. I apologise very much if this doesn't work. This has worked. This is going to be great. So, we're bringing it up. Painful Discourse. In theory, you are live now to the world. Say hello.
Hello.
Aha! We've got Painful Discourse's voice. Welcome to Q&A, sir, as the first Discord guest. Say hello a bit louder to everyone. I'm going to turn the music off so we can clearly hear you.
There's a weird delay, so it might be weird. I just
Are you
wanted to say
listening
hi.
on Discord
like
or YouTube?
Oh, sorry.
Are you listening to me via Discord or do you still have the YouTube stream up?
I have the YouTube stream up, but I muted it, so it shouldn't be a problem. But still, there's the delay, so I hear you now, but like people probably hear me a bit later on. So
it's perfect. Perfect. Go.
I'm doing it I'm trying the Xbox app, so
See, I told you, theme of the show. Everything is Xbox's fault. Blame Xbox.
Nah. Just wanted to say I like the vibe of the show. It's really chill, and like I'm maybe too old for too much, controversy, I guess. And please do a Q&A Halo stream, Halo community night. I mean, so that would be cool.
Oh, there's an idea. So, thank you very much, first of all, for saying that. Like it helps. I don't know if I'm too old for all the controversy or if I just don't care for it, but I don't remember caring for controversy when I was young. Did you, when you were like 20 years ago, would you have been engaging in the console wars?
Maybe. I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
There you go. Then you're not too old, are you? Still got all your youth. Just a more calm person like myself. Thank you. In terms of community session, that's an idea. People that are here in chat at the moment, if you fancy a bit of Halo or if you want to suggest some other games that you want to play as a little community session, that's a thing we can arrange. I'm terrible at Halo, but
other games are cool as well. So
exactly, we can throw that out there as an idea. Appreciate that. I am going to close off Discord, which means you will no longer be on the stream. And if anybody else wants to hit the waiting room, you've now seen how it works. We have the demo. So, Painful Discourse, thank you very much.
Bye.
Oh, my button don't work. And we're back. So that's a sample. That was a test for me. That was very, very useful because I needed to see how that worked. So thank you, Painful Discourse, for coming by and talking to us and all the rest of it. I've now got the normal chat back as well. So Mitchy Poo says it sounds like a good idea. Bad at first person. We can have a terrible Halo session. We'll put an upper limit on skill. You can't have eyesight if you want to join this community stream or something like that. It'll be fine. Community game nights are obviously some things that other people in the community do arrange that I've not particularly partaken in, but it is a good idea. So if there are things that people want to play, we've had a suggestion for Halo. I happened to uninstall Halo yesterday, but I can definitely reinstall it. There are probably some other games around as well. Things that are on Game Pass make a lot of sense because everyone has access to them. So yes, perhaps we'll plan a Halo session. Now, what were we talking about? We were talking about Last of Us, and I think we've probably run the course of that particular topic, so we're going to go on to the next one. Painful Discourse, you are still in the waiting room because that was just the easiest way to move you. I'm going to assume you don't have anything to add, but if you do, then just pop something in chat and we'll see from there. Next topic that we have for the show is PlayStation VR 2. So some people have, or Bloomberg in particular, reported on the words of an analyst. I can't remember who the analyst actually worked for. Essentially saying that PlayStation VR 2 is estimated or projected to sell like 270,000 units in the first month or 5 weeks of release, and that's a slow start and everything is a disaster. As Crypt Keeper Valheim, I tried that. It's a survival game. That would be a long play. But you can set up servers on it, can't you? So I could set up like a community server of Valheim and just let people drop in and out when they want to. I don't think that would work so well as a planned, scheduled session, but community servers are an idea as well. There's all of these things that I can explore. It just needs like time and people's enthusiasm to make it happen. So PlayStation VR 2, 270,000 units, and they're painting it as a disaster, saying, it's doomed. Sony needs to either reduce the price or it's going to be an unmitigated failure, and all the rest of it. What are we thinking about PlayStation VR 2? What were our expectations? Did any of us have expectations of what it would or wouldn't sell? Is 270,000 disappointing? Is it a brilliant result? Is it the death of PlayStation's VR attempts, or VR on the whole? Is it all over and done with? I don't know how good or bad these numbers are or how true they are. So they're just an estimate from an analyst, and given that Sony are only selling PlayStation VR 2 pretty much in most regions, only selling it directly through their online store, I don't know what to like. How seriously to take the numbers is the first issue with assessing them. Is I don't know how true they are. I don't know if there's any point assuming that they're factual or not, but it is a believable number. It could be that 270,000 is where it is, and on the one hand, 270,000 PlayStation VR 2s is definitely not enough to make development viable for big studios. To justify putting a lot of money into virtual reality games, which is what you need. So the number that people have always cited with consoles, and particularly around when the Dreamcast failed, is you need like 10 million to make a healthy ecosystem to sell games into. 270,000 is a long way off of 10 million. At the same time, from what I gather, the first PlayStation VR, which wasn't a huge runaway success in its own right, but wasn't terrible, sold 100,000 in the first month. PC VR headsets from the likes of HTC sell less than that in an entire year. So numbers wise, I don't know what Sony's internal projections and expectations would be as to whether they're surprised or disappointed. My hope is still that obviously the burden is on them to prove that this thing is worth buying. And I hope that in the very near future, they are able to tell us what their plan is for first-party games coming to this thing over the next year or two. It doesn't need to be immediate, but I think for a lot of people to have the confidence to buy this thing, they need to know that Sony's big first-party games, your Spider-Mans, your Last of Us's, things like that, are going to be playable on this thing. And the way that Resident Evil is, like, they need to give some people some assurances or set some expectations on what kind of support this thing is going to get over the next 2 or 3 years. And if they're not willing to make that commitment because they're not sure how much they want to support it, that's a problem. And that is going to kill it if they're not sure that they want to support it. Patrick has said what a lot of people have said, that they need to make it compatible with PC out of the box. But how do you see that, Patrick? The problem with that is, one, PC VR isn't big. So there's a lot of people saying that PCVR would save this device, but PCVR can't save itself. HTC makes some of the best PCVR headsets, and they sell like 60,000 in the space of a year, something like that. So I don't think, much as the PC audience would like you to believe that they're huge and have a massive appetite to spend all of their money on a PlayStation VR2, I don't think that is a substantial audience. And I count myself in that audience. I am obviously a PC VR player, but I think that is a small number of people barking very loudly. The problem with it is PlayStation VR2, if they were to put it on PC, they don't make any money on it. So why would they? I get that it makes the device more appetizing, and maybe like that outweighh the negatives. But if they're selling that thing at a loss, or if they're selling it at close to the amount that it costs them, and they release it onto PC, the problem that they've then got is this device. We all know that a PC is potentially more powerful than a PlayStation 5. So if you get your Walking Dead Saints and Sinners 2, you get your PlayStation VR2 headset, and you got a PlayStation 5 and you got a PC, you're more than likely going to buy that game on Steam. And every other game that comes across like multi-platform between the two of them, you're going to get on Steam, and then you can mod it, and you can use my treadmill, and you can like run the most fancy graphics for years to come. So they lose an essential part of the PlayStation 2 ecosystem, like what makes it a viable product, if they release it and make it compatible on PC, unless you can buy it from PlayStation on PC. So unless they launch the Sony store on PC and let you buy those third-party games directly from Sony, so that Sony are still getting a piece of that revenue. The other option, of course, is Sony's own games. They should be selling on PC, hopefully. But Acid Flare is not as good as PC VR, but has almost the same cost. It doesn't... it's a difficult one, that. In some ways... So you're saying it's a stupid proposition. It's way too high a price for such a negligible improvement over standalone. So I disagree with you there. I think PlayStation VR2 is a huge improvement over standalone. Like, there is no standalone that comes close. And I say that with a Quest Pro by my feet that costs a lot more than the PlayStation. It costs more than the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation VR2 together. It's not... Standalone experiences aren't it. They're just not. Even like you get the occasional one like Resident Evil 4 is brilliant, but it doesn't come close to PlayStation VR2. PC VR can obviously go over the top of what PlayStation VR2 can deliver, but not at the same price. Like, it's a very expensive proposition. Virtual reality just is a very expensive proposition. The thing that's that I feel sorry for Sony on, in a sense, is that they've released it at a time when everyone is financially struggling, and that's not their fault. They couldn't really have foreseen that. So they've put a lot into this device, and they've released it at a time where people aren't particularly interested in buying an expensive accessory. That's a bit of a shame. Acid Flare, you get my point, but VR enthusiasts already have it, and for casuals, it's negligible for such a high cost. Yeah, so I doubt there are many people that are more enthusiastic about VR than me, which is why I have both. I have the PlayStation VR2 and I have PC VR. I've got 5 different PC VR headsets. It sits in a difficult place. Something as expensive as that and as unproven as the PlayStation VR2 headset sits in a difficult place, and it was always going to. So I would like to think that Sony anticipated this kind of performance and have a plan going forwards and have faith in their long-term vision for their virtual reality device. But who knows? Who knows? One thing I will say, I see a lot of people on the social medias saying, look, PlayStation VR2 isn't doing very well. I'm so glad that Microsoft didn't pursue virtual reality. That I don't understand. Don't understand why you'd be glad that companies chase money rather than aspiring to deliver like cutting edge technology. And this is one thing that Sony as a company and PlayStation as a company, I don't historically have much love for. I don't think they've conducted themselves very well. I'm not sure you do, because there's a lot of people that are talking about this on the social medias. So whichever one you're thinking of is probably a good example, but there are many people that have this line of thinking, and they celebrate that Microsoft aren't exploring this. But like I say, Sony have conducted themselves fairly badly in a lot of ways over a lot of years, and I wouldn't historically say that I love them as a company, there are a lot of things that they do that are wrong and bad and smelly. Painful Discourse, yes, thank you. I am back on live chat. A lot of things that Sony's done that are wrong and bad and smelly, but their resolve to aspire to deliver virtual reality, to deliver something that everybody knows is an uncertain sales proposition, but to push for like the pinnacle of gaming rather like ahead of pushing into where the money is, that's a good thing. And I'm not saying that Sony are saintly for this. Obviously they're doing it because they want VR to grow and they want to have a big piece of that pie and they want that money in the future. But I don't understand the people that are glad that Microsoft aren't trying. Like, why would you be glad that they're not trying? What's in it for you? It's a strange attitude to me. Even if you hate virtual reality, why would you like celebrate a company not trying? Not trying. I don't know. I don't understand. That's me though. What else have we got? 10 past 10. Have I done enough? I think so. Oh, Patrick's in the waiting room. Patrick, give me a second and I'll draw you in. We've got another Discord moment coming up soon. So Asiflet, at the end of the day, VR may still be niche until it's no hassle wires and massive headset. And the biggest issue is it makes people physically sick. There are many issues with virtual reality. Sickness is a real one, and it's one that I suffered a lot. Wires and massive headset and comfort, those are all real as well. So I don't deny the issues. There's also the fact that it's impossible to convey what virtual reality is through screens and things. People like when you see people liken it to 3D TV, you just haven't tried it. If you think that it's anything like 3D TV, then you've just never tried it. There's no other way to say it. But it is very hard to convey because you look at. I remember when they were showing off Gran Turismo 7 virtual reality, people were saying, "Wow, that looks incredible!" And what they were actually looking at didn't look different to Gran Turismo 7 because they were looking at it on a screen. They were watching videos on YouTube. Like, you're being generous saying that it looks incredible in a YouTube video because it doesn't. It looks the same as the Pancake game. You're looking at a Pancake version of it. It does look incredible when you put the headset on. Space Denizen, people don't want to they don't want focus taken away from Pancake games. Yeah, but it's Microsoft. They could do both. They're freaking huge. Berserker this, spot on. Xbox being involved in VR2 would surely only help push it further. So I've said again, the thing that I'm bitter about with Microsoft and virtual reality is not so much that they're not bringing it to Xbox. I would like them to bring it to the console so that everybody has like an opportunity to try it and all the rest of it. But I also do understand that the issues with it, so the motion sickness, the wires, all of this kind of stuff, these are real issues with virtual reality. And if they want to wait until it is a console level experience before delivering it to their console players, then I understand that. But they also always said that the reason they're not pushing it on console yet is that they think it belongs on PC at the moment. While it's still like being developed and pioneered, PC is the perfect space for it. So they want to see it flourish over there. And then they not only don't put any of their games onto virtual reality, they buy the studios that are supporting virtual reality and they stop them from supporting it. And that's like, you're not passively seeing what happens with virtual reality at that point. You're stepping on its neck. Like, you're killing it. And I don't know why. And it's like, that's upsetting to me because I really like VR. And I don't want ZeniMax to not be allowed to put Starfield in virtual reality because they definitely would have done that if they hadn't been bought. And I don't want Ninja Theory to not be able to put Hellblade 2 in virtual reality because they may well have done that. They did it for the first one. And I don't want In Exile to not do any more Mage's Tale VR because they've been bought, because they probably would have done. I want more Doom games in VR. I want Quake in VR. I want all of these things. And I would have them if Microsoft stuck to their word and like let the technology develop in the PC space. They bought that Halo VR mod dev. They buy everyone. Wayne, you think that we're a few years from getting VR mainstream? The motion sickness is a hard thing to get over. The games look really interesting, but the cost is prohibitive. Cost is definitely prohibitive. I will say, Patrick, keep waiting there, by the way. I will bring you in very soon. For me and my journey into VR, if I look back at like my technology, my gaming technology history. When I was like a teen, I wanted like the biggest, best TV to blow everything else away. And when everyone else was playing on their PlayStation 3 and their Xbox 360, I had 4 graphics cards in a PC water cooled so that I could play at 4K. This was in 2013. I was playing with 4 graphics cards at 4K while everybody else was at sub 720p. My audio system in the other room has like it's 7.2.4 surround sound. I've got 4 Atmos ceiling speakers. And it's just like what I am. I'm not like a wealthy person who has masses of excess to buy all of these luxury things, but I have always chased like the cutting edge, the best technology to deliver things in tangible ways. And virtual reality is just like clearly that. As someone chasing cutting edge of gaming, I'm going to live there. I'm going to get everything I can. I'm going to get my treadmill. I'm going to get virtual reality headsets. I'm going to soup up my racing seat to bump when I go over corners and just like, and that's not mainstream. Mainstream is not an enticing word for me. Niche, absolutely. You can say it niche, you can say it niche. I don't mind. That's where I want to be. That's where the best stuff is. So level that as an insult, and that's weird. Like, yes, it's niche. I love it. Leave me in my little niche. That's fine. As Flare, Microsoft just needs to deal with Gabe. Steam VR on Xbox, problem solved. And Series X is a PC after all. Yeah, I mean, PC VR and the console audience, though, there is a gap to close. They do, like, this is what I always say. I understand when they say that if it's not ready for console, it's not ready for console. And Sony have obviously put the work in, and the PlayStation VR2 is very much a console experience relative to PC VR. But there are still steps to take before it's that smooth experience. TLOU, they bought an on-rail shooter. I've missed something there. VR has great potential, but it's not ready yet. You saw me the other day complaining about the wire falling in my face. Yeah, and this is like I have a setup with pulleys and crap all over the place to keep the wire out of my way, and it was literally getting around my neck and in my face. So yes, there are definitely things. Did I already touch on Vertigo 2? I've not spoken about Vertigo 2 today, but I have seen that it is launched today, Space Denizen, and it looks really good, but I didn't play... So you're a VR person. Did you play Vertigo Remastered, or whatever the first one was called? Because I was looking at that the other day, wondering if I need to play the first one before getting into the second. I played The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners 2 a very little bit on a disaster stream where I had some technical difficulties. And I think I need to play the first one to completion before I move on to the second. So that's a thing I'll be streaming soon. But Vertigo 2 is a new built for VR game that's supposed to be very, very good on the PC VR side of things, which I will definitely get to as soon as I can. But despite Vertigo Remastered is fucking great as well. Oh, I might have to get that then. Despite VR having definite catalog issues, like releases definitely went in the wrong direction, where like 4 or 5 years ago there were virtual reality games coming out and we all complained that they weren't quite the virtual reality games that we want, and little did we realize how spoiled we were, because fast forward this year, the last 2 years, and releases dried up horribly. So Vertigo 2 coming out is a special treat, and I must get it. I must play it. This is why PlayStation VR 2 brings such hope, because if Sony do support it, if they do have that appetite to push this thing forwards, maybe that 2-year drought on the gaming front will go away. Patrick, I'm going to bring you in now. Patrick can probably, hopefully hear me on Discord. Is muted, but as soon as I see you unmute, Patrick, I'm going to bring you onto the stream and you can shout at Tony. Here we go. Patrick's unmuted. Right. You are live now. Welcome to the stream, Patrick.
Cool. What's up, man?
Yeah, you good?
Can you hear me? I'm using my AirPods, so I don't know how well they're gonna work.
It is good enough. I can hear you. Hopefully the stream can hear you. I'm sure they can hear you. Yes. What's up?
Yeah, so I just wanted to touch on what I meant by the PSVR2 needs to be PC compatible out of the box. I don't think they should just say, okay, here's the PSVR2. Go buy all your games on Steam.
How do you think they should work it?
There's been that rumored PlayStation launcher for a while. It's like I think that would be their way to get the PC market, like, because then they'd still get to sell their games.
So do you reckon, so if they made the PlayStation VR2 compatible with the PC and they had their own store, do you reckon they would say, like, this is PlayStation VR, but it's not using any of the open standards, it's using like our own special PlayStation standards, so you cannot use it with Steam? Or do you think they would need to support Steam to keep the PC people happy?
Or do both. Like, I would do both. Like any third-party game, let them buy it on Steam. But like if a first-party studio makes The Last of Us VR, like buy it on the PlayStation Store. I think that'd be a good way to reach a lot more people.
I would be very pleased if that is the direction they go. If they bring their own store out and they support third-party games on it as well, but also leave it open because they're not stupid and they realise how petty PC people can be, then everybody wins. The device would surely sell at least 10 more units. At least 10 more units.
Maybe 11.
Maybe 11. That's you being tempted. You're on the fence. Patrick's number 11 if it happens.
Yeah, I think that would be a good middle ground where they can still have their like Sony walled garden while having it open to everybody else on PC. Because as far as consoles go, I just don't ever, at least not for years, seeing it be a thing where half of anybody that owns a PlayStation 5 owns the VR. I think for a while it's just going to be kind of what we see with the sales currently.
The downside, the downside for me is this rumored PlayStation launcher. I had it on good authority that it was coming out March last year. So whether it's a real thing or not, whether it ever does arrive, I don't know. But
yeah, I just think like that would be a good way for them to have more people access the product and then sell more hardware and more software ultimately.
I do not disagree. Patrick, before I close you off, shout something appropriate at Tony.
Hey Tony, I miss you.
Oh, that was sweet. I'm going to close the Discord now. Thank you, Patrick.
All right. See ya.
So we've had our 2 Discord calls. You do have the option, if you want to join the Discord waiting room, you can use a camera if you want. You can show the world your face, but you don't need to. You can just come in and voice on your PC, on your Xbox, on your phone, whatever you need. Is he washing up? Patrick, were you washing up while you were talking to me? This is Apple AirPods. Nobody should ever trust Apple technology until they bring out this VR headset that they're supposedly, or AR VR headset they're supposedly announcing in June or whatever. And then they become my heroes. Even Apple can be redeemed by supporting the technology that I love. So, nobody's got the OST yet. I am very surprised. I wouldn't expect me to get this OST, but I would expect all of you to get this OST. Tony is here. Tony, appropriate doesn't mean much. Appropriate for you, I said. Say something appropriate for Tony. That could have been anything. Patrick wanted to be nice to you. That was the option that he chose. You would, but you're already in your pajamas. Fair enough. Fair enough. I do not want to get banned. Or do I want to get banned? Do I value this YouTube channel? Yeah, this is nice, right? Everyone comes every week and we have these little chats. I don't want to get banned. So, Apple VR will blow the competition out of the water. Tony, what do you think Apple are going to deliver? Why do you think that? Do you think they're going to actually do standalone VR? Because I kind of got the impression that their emphasis might be more on augmented reality, and how good it is for virtual reality is an open question. What? You go keep who's a perv? You were the one that said you're in your pajamas and you can't come on stream. Anyway, no, Tony, it's not Monster Hunter music. Were there any more topics? I want to talk a little bit about Xbox Live Gold and PlayStation Plus and why would I get banned? I don't know. You're the one that said you couldn't come on. Were you doing a Futurama reference? If you were, then I appreciate a Futurama reference. Probably late news. Vampire Survivors wins Best BAFTA Games. What are the historical winners of BAFTA Game Awards? What does it mean? What kind of games do they typically award? Are they indie focused, or do the AAA games sometimes take those prizes? Spriggan, you're not running the original game code. It was utterly CPU locked. What have I missed, Spriggan? What are you playing? What's CPU locked? I don't know. Patrick. No, I've missed some things. I've missed some things and I'm lost. Toy Story Pajamas. KY, thank you. Thank you for coming in and identifying what I thought was a very easy soundtrack. Yes, it is Breath of the Wild, a soundtrack that I've never heard, but an OST that is apparently 126 tracks long and 4 hours and 15 minutes or something, so it's going to be playing for a while after the show ends. It is Breath of the Wild. It is quite underwhelming, actually. I've not heard anything particularly exciting going on, but it is what it is. It's very mellow. It works as a background. Space Denizen, you don't know quite what to expect from Apple VR, and you're definitely not going to spend 2 to 3K on it, but you think it's cool that they're trying. Yeah, that 2 to 3,000 is gonna make it the reserve of only the snootiest of Apple snobs, which is not me. But yes, if they're trying in VR and they do good things, I forgive them for all their past transgressions. Patrick, it is not just one long song, no. Tony, KY is cheating by knowing the answer. It is not fair. Returnal won BAFTA in 2022. Huh. Okay. Spriggan, you did a Crisis marathon last year. The original ran fine and the remaster ran okay, but you had ray tracing turned on it. I've never played the Crisis games. I've seen that trilogy. I've seen the remaster. And I've been tempted many times. I say I've never played the Crisis games. I played the first one and I shot some trees and they fell over and it was nice. Hades won in 2021. Okay, so they don't normally go for the blockbuster games. So they go for the somewhere in like the middle ground. Not tiny indies, but lauded indies. I know Housemarque and Returnal weren't strictly indie, but almost. Unpacking original game soundtrack was really nice and chill. You played it last night. Well, I can't have that one now because I know you'll get the answer straight away. Actually, people are very welcome to recommend OSTs that will fit in the background. It's all part of the fun to stick them there. The remaster was a mess at launch. It's playable now on PC, Spriggan, or were you playing it on console? Baz, have I seen the new Zelda Switch edition? I haven't. I'm aware of it. I know that they have a Switch OLED Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom model that doesn't come with the game, has some stickers and colours and whatever, and is still unfortunately a Switch, which means it's no good. It's no good. Why are they still making Switch hardware, bastards? Tony, oh no, I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. Shooters should always be played on PC. Spriggan, I mean, mostly agree. I don't know. Like a campaign's alright. Campaign's alright on a controller. But no, my preference is also keyboard and mouse for that. Outside of virtual reality, obviously, where shooting things is 10 times more fun. But if you must play Pancake, yeah, first-person shooters work well on a keyboard and mouse. It's quite nice to sit back in a home cinema and play like the good Halos and things like that, though. Destiny literally has some of the greatest soundtracks ever put into a game. That makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense. Welcome, by the way, AJH. I don't think I'd seen you up to this point. Outer Wilds 2020. Ah, previous winners, yeah. Okay. Let me just have a quick check over. Oh, right. So, Games for Gold. Let's talk about that one first. This was actually a topic for last week that I deferred because I ran out of time. But it's a question. I want to know other people's thoughts on Games for Gold and PlayStation Plus to an extent, but I find Microsoft's position more interesting on this one. So Games for Gold has been terrible for the last several months. They've just announced, I think today, next month's Games for Gold offerings, and again, they're terrible. It's a terrible offering. That's not to say that both games are like duds that shouldn't exist, but they're not good value things that people were seeking to own particularly. They're there on Games with Gold. Value offering is bad, but you have to have Games with Gold to play multiplayer games, and the value proposition is failing. But the reason that I say that Microsoft are more interesting than Sony, it's see Patrick's there saying that Games with Gold needs to end, but the alternative that I've been wishing that we'd see from Microsoft for the last like 10 years or something is, rather than ending, they need to make it worthwhile, make it offer something. And the reason that I say they need to make it offer something, like what I'm alluding to, is essentially Microsoft have one of the biggest cloud platforms in the world, and Games with Gold is asking us to pay for a good online service. When they introduced it on the Xbox 360, it was a good online service. Right? It was kind of ahead of the game in the way that it consolidated all of these features into one place and gave you essentially the console experience, but you had all of your party chat and all of these like neat at your fingertips functions that made Xbox Live what it was, and for my mind, at the point that it launched, made it worth paying for relative to other places you could play online. Over time, the features that Xbox Live had have become commonplace across all of the other platforms, but we're still paying. And essentially, we're paying for the right to use our own internet connection, and we're paying for these 2 terrible free games every month. But Microsoft could offer so much more. And so the options that I see for Microsoft are not the favorable options that I see for Microsoft. Obviously, okay, we'll do 3 options. We'll do the terrible option. Terrible option is they keep going as they are. They say you have to pay for gold forever because what choice have you got? If you want to play online on an Xbox, you're going to keep paying. That's choice 1, and that sucks. Choice 2 is they scrap gold, so we don't have to pay for it anymore, and they try and roll over as many people as they can into Game Pass, which is a viable and quite possibly what's happening kind of strategy. So they just do away with Games with Gold, stop doing their 2 games, but migrate as many of the 50 odd million people across as they can so they don't lose their money. That's okay. But option 3 is that they make Xbox Live Gold a good service again. And by that, I mean, if you consider something like Redfall as an example, so Redfall was announced as having an online requirement that nobody could see any purpose for. And in time, like, the developers have said that they're going to try and remove the online requirement, kind of proving that there is no need for it. It's not actually offering anything back to the player. But theoretically, it could. Theoretically, you could have Xbox Live Gold. It could give you access to online services that include things like, I don't know, you're playing Redfall and the NPCs in there are driven by ChatGPT. So every conversation that you have with an NPC is like, they're guided towards giving you a certain amount of information, but the NPCs have natural dialogue because it is now powered by ChatGPT in the cloud. Or the Crackdown destruction that never really came to be, powered by the cloud as a service offering. So option 3 is that they take Xbox Live with Gold, forget the 2 terrible games, like move those over to Game Pass. If you want games, then Game Pass is where you need to be. But Xbox Live Gold gives you the exciting technologies that Microsoft are uniquely positioned to give you. That's like, I'm a dreamer, and I don't think this is likely, because, I don't know, I don't think Microsoft necessarily do chase the same kind of dreams as I do, but the potential for, like, actually using that cloud infrastructure that they have, like, say, you're paying for something tangible now, you're paying for something that we can deliver, your games are going to be different if you pay for this. Wouldn't that be nice? Just make gold cheaper. Why cheaper? Why not get rid of it completely? What does it do? The other thing with games with gold at the moment, when you say make it cheaper, it literally doesn't give you anything anymore apart from those 2 games. Everything that Xbox games with gold, not games with gold, everything that Xbox Live Gold, is that what it's called at the moment? Everything that Xbox Live Gold does, Microsoft already give away for free in the PC space. So there is no justification for it that console players should accept. If they say you need to pay to play Minecraft online, and they say, like, if you go over to your PC, you no longer need to pay. You need to play, like, I don't know, any other games, any games that you can think of that you can play online. they're giving the exact same service. They're giving party chat, they're giving achievements, they're giving everything over to people on PC without a fee. So there is, for me, no justification for that service existing on console except those 2 games a month that nobody wants. They won't get rid of it because it makes them too much money. Yes, Baz, that is the issue. And it is like 40, 50 million people that are currently subscribed. I don't know how the balance has shifted since Game Pass Ultimate came about. But yes, they definitely won't, like, from a business perspective, they're not going to get rid of it until they can migrate all of those people over to Game Pass. And that makes a lot of sense. But they're not exactly making great strides in that direction as far as I can see. What about Live Gold gives you virtual reality games? Mitchy Poo, if they did Xbox Live Platinum, you pay £50 a month and we'll give you Forza Horizon 5 in virtual reality. I'd probably go for that. I'd pay £50 a month to play Forza Horizon 5 in VR. There, I've said it. I'll stick to it. They give me that choice. It's happening. Patrick, you think turning everyone into the service would be the easiest transition? Yeah. Turning everything into one service would be the easiest transition. And it looked like that was their plan when they started threatening to double the price of gold. I don't know if there are like some legalities that get in their way, because I would think if you're Microsoft and you want to migrate people over, then the easiest way to do that would be to literally migrate people over. Like, you got gold? Oh, guess what? It's Game Pass now. But there must be reasons that they can't do that. Jez needs to ask someone to justify it. Jez, Windows Central, Jez Corden. Yeah, I'll ask him to get back to it. No, we can't trust Jez because he keeps saying bad things about virtual reality. So he can't be the spokesperson that speaks to Microsoft. I'll do it. I'll tell them what we need. If you want to hear a really sick game track, listen to Children of Omnisia from 40K Mechanicus. They used 200-year-old church organ in that track. I've never heard of the game, but I am curious, and I may well look that one up. I say that, I'm definitely going to forget it because I could barely read it, but I hope that I remember it, and then I will look it up. Children of the Omnisia. Never heard of it. Speaking of which, I've not shown a single trailer today, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to blame Xbox for it, because that is the theme of the show. Blame Xbox. Bloody Xbox stopped me from showing any trailers today. Anyway, what else? Let's do, because I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. Let's do, I think generally consensus across chat was that games with gold should just go away, right? Get cheaper or go away as soon as possible. But we appreciate that Microsoft aren't just going to cut off a massive revenue stream until they have to. Which is logical, level-headed, sensible. What is the OST doing? It's playing a bloody trombone in my ear. Someone told me Breath of the Wild was a good game. I don't believe them. VR has too many games, Tony. I have such a long list of virtual reality games to try and get through. Loads of games. What it doesn't have is many games coming out. That's a different scenario. Still a problem. Let's do the questions. So, these are the questions that have been submitted into the Q&A box of YouTube. It's not too late if you want to drop something in there, but we're going to run through them. And when I get to the last one, that'll be the end. Sec games don't count. Oh, Tony, the things I've seen. Is water wet? Connor, if you're still there, I will not fall for your trap. Is water wet? Is yes, is water, you know, I know what you're getting at. You're going to go, no, it's not wet. Water makes things wet. Water isn't wet. That doesn't make any sense. All the rest of it, yes, water is the wettener. Dodge says, Asa, another week without us having Nando's. My question is simple. Why don't you love me? Dodge isn't here, so I don't have to answer this one. I have addressed it by reading it out loud. Dodge, we will go real soon, I promise. Even my wife is giving me constant reminders about this, saying, don't forget to arrange to do this with Dodge. She's trying to get me out of the house because she wants to watch films with her friends or whatever. But it is a thing that we will do. That will happen. Promise. Real soon. Imagine 1 versus 100 in VR. AJH, I constantly imagine every game in VR. If I come across a game, I'm like, oh, what would this be like in VR? And usually the answer is brilliant. Connor, 1v1 me on Hunt. No, I uninstalled Hunt today. I needed the space for a game that I intended to record, which I then couldn't record. No, you would decimate me on Hunt. I can't even see people on Hunt. It's a horrible game for me. And it will... I'd say we could do Hunt as one of our community games, but I think it only supports like 3 people, and I don't know if it has any more open modes to make that a viable option. Connor, again, have I ever played Judge Dredd, Dread versus Death? No, I have not. But it might be our one trailer for the day. One moment. And that's not how you spell Judge. That's not how you spell Dread. Dread versus Death. These are reviews. I want a trailer. That's a full game walkthrough. This is ancient, so I might not find a trailer. Oh, PlayStation 2 trailer. Right, I don't know what I'm showing here, like who it's from, but it's been uploaded in 2040p. No, that will be really high. 240p. There's a comic book there, but the text is so blurry you can barely make it out. And it's not just that I'm getting tired, like this is actually just... We need Monster Hunter VR. Space Denizen, that's one that you can hold out some hope for on the grounds that it's Capcom. I don't particularly like Monster Hunter, but if they were to rework it sufficiently for VR, I would of course be all over it. Whoa, it's like really hard to see what's going on. Dread versus Death. It's got guns and blur. That's all I can really make out. Guns and blur. Bang, blur. No, I've never played that. And looking at it, wow, 4-player split screen. I think it's unlikely that I ever will play it at this point. It does not look like a game that will have aged graciously. But thank you for the question. Not a real gamer, not playing Dread. Tony, you've never played it. Get your... No, I don't know. I've got no retort. Dogshit Doom. Maybe so. Have I played Vertigo Remastered, and am I going to play Vertigo 2? So I caught this one in the chat earlier, Space Denizen. I haven't, but you specifically said that Vertigo Remastered is very good, so I'm going to play both. I'm not sure in what order. Maybe Vertigo Remastered will be underwhelming if I play Vertigo 2 first. So maybe I'll do the first one and then the second one. From what I gather, the first one is only like 4 hours long or something, so... Get through the first one, then move on to the second one. I've also got to get through the entirety of Asgard's Wrath, finish off Robo Recall, finish off the Horizon Call of the Mountain game, play both Saints and Sinners games, play through the whole of Half-Life Alyx, play through Stormlands, Light Brigade. I want to play Light Brigade as well. There's not a shortage of virtuality games for me to play at the moment, but I would like to play the Vertigo games. I've heard only good things. The multiplayer system is pretty shit in Monster Hunter. You hope they fix that too. The Monster Hunter's tutorial system would be a killer in VR. The recent one, Monster Hunter Rise, was it? I can't remember. The Game Pass one, where it gives you an excessive amount of tutorials and it gives you all of them twice. That would be a killer. I don't understand why they thought that was a good idea. You'll speak to a character and they'll run through a mechanic and tell you exactly how it works, and then it will pop up like a tutorial box that says exactly the same thing, like paraphrases it slightly. Terrible tutorial experience in those games. Tony has played all the games ever made, being made, and those that have not been made. He is player, but has not played anything in VR. Tony, no. That's all I have for you. Either you never played the original Sims, you got it at the same time as Sims 2. That's not like... that's Sims, though. It's a bit different, right? It doesn't follow... words again, like chronological order. There's no continuity between them. It's just an updated version of the same scenario, right? What did I think of the Diablo 4 beta? I was talking about that a bit earlier, Baz, and I was probably more negative than I actually am on it. I have taken it out of my list of most anticipated games. Diablo 4 was very high in my list. I had some concerns and skepticism over it being an Activision game. I don't like Activision as a publisher, and I don't like their monetization. But I was still very much looking forward to it. I played the beta. Looks really nice, sounds really nice. But I'm probably less enthusiastic than I was going into it. It made me want to play more action RPGs though. More, not just action RPGs, but more of the Western stuff. Did I do the current question? Yes, I've done that question. Thank you very much. Stormland was cool. You didn't understand what you were doing after a bit. The resetting world was annoying. I never got anywhere in Stormland. I want to though. I've seen the intro to it and that is all. Don't know how. Like, obviously the multiplayer focus has probably died over time. I just want to play through and see what it's like because it's neat. Lone Echo, I need to play through both of those as well. Baz, you're going to wait for it to drop in Game Pass. That was a question that I asked at the time for chat. Like, do you buy it or do you gamble on it coming to Game Pass in the near future? Will it go through as soon as the Activision Blizzard King thing goes through, or will there be a delay? Will they stagger the releases rather than drop them all at once? Only time and Tony will tell, because Tony has already played them all. Why were my videos taken down the other day? Why were my videos taken down the other day? Who took down my videos? Who asked this question? What videos are gone? Peter Morland. I'm unaware of videos being taken down, so I'm not sure I can answer that one. No, Peter, this is your question right now. What videos got taken down, and are they still down? Oh, the VR streams, the Walking Dead ones. Okay, so they went horribly wrong, Peter. We had multiple technical issues. First of all was a connection issue because Steam decided to try and download a game at the same time as I was streaming, which it's not supposed to do. Steam has rules. There's a checkbox, and I said, you are not allowed to download while I'm playing games, but it said, fuck you, in like aggressive and inconvenient tone of voice, and ruined my stream. Then when I brought it back up, so I deleted that one, started again, and found that actually none of my audio was working either. Neat little Windows glitch where if you get certain Windows updates, not every single one, but maybe one in every 3, it resets all of your fancy audio devices if you've got a complicated system like I have. So various audio things just stopped working. My voice was working, the game sound was not. I get really upset when things don't work. I put like way too much effort into the technical side of streams and things. So when they don't work, I rage delete. So they got deleted for that reason. I didn't make any progress. They were very short streams before I noticed the problems and cut them off. Those games will be back. Many more streams and videos will be back. Oh yes, chat was wrong as well. That's another thing that went wrong. Thank you. Tony, with Bill passing banning TikTok, has also crushed VPN. In turn, emulation and games are $100 each. Is this the future, Tony, or is this a thing that's happened? I know that the TikTok thing is ongoing, or last I heard it was ongoing, that there was a bill going through, but I didn't know it happened. No, please stop being big sad. There will be more streams. Tomorrow we'll have a stream of some kind. Maybe a VR stream, maybe a pancake stream, maybe both. And we've got over here the Easter holiday, so my kids are off school, which interferes with the schedule a little bit, but hopefully in positive ways that mean I can stream even more. No, I don't promise anything. I'm an unreliable turd. I bring hope, not promises. I hope that there are streams tomorrow. If only someone would pass a bill to curb Nvidia's greed. Yes, that would be... I have an Nvidia card in my PC. I want another Nvidia card. They unfortunately have a position in the market that I can't ignore. They are too good for content creation and streaming and things, but they are an arse of a company that have been gradually pushing prices up for the last decade. So what they need is not a bill to curb them. They need serious competition. Hopefully, I'm not sure if AMD are going to get there, to be honest. AMD have done some things right and advanced some things nicely, and AMD seem to be a nicer company in their open approach to things, but it might be Intel that gives them the push they need. Intel are exploring the same kind of areas as Nvidia, competing on ray tracing and AI and content creation, like encoding and things that AMD aren't as good at. Intel don't have high-end offerings yet, but they are kind of approaching the technology in the same way that Nvidia do. So hopefully they'll make a difference in the space in the near future. So you're saying they need AMD to crush them. AMD have been there for a long time. They need to get their FSR and their ray tracing right. Yeah, but they've had time to do that. I'm not sure. I don't think they can catch up. It's not just that. Their encoding is bad as well. So right now, right, their encoding is like their performance on their encoding, the quality that you get at the same bit rates is quite far behind Nvidia at the moment, and it's quite far behind Intel as well. In beta at the moment is a version of OBS that supports a new protocol for streaming to YouTube and lets you use AV1 encoding, which is the fancy new encoder that hopefully everything will be switching over to in the near future. And that beta supports Nvidia and Intel. AMD, not yet. They're behind, which is a shame because I was hoping that AV1 would be it would level the playing field, but doesn't look like that is to be the case. Did I ever finish Psychonauts 2? I don't finish games. No, I didn't finish Psychonauts 2. I exited whatever brain I was in to go and find a scene to record. So when I go back to Psychonauts 2, I'll probably be completely lost. I will forget what I'm supposed to be doing. But I really liked Psychonauts 2, so I do intend to go back to it one day. Who knows? Maybe that'll be one of the pancake streams. I have way too many things that I want to play. It is a problem. The last driver updates tanked the performance on a few games for you. Is this Nvidia, AJH? I heard that the most recent, or they might have corrected it since, but I heard that a very recent Nvidia driver had like a 10% performance hit across the board. Oh no, you had a bad AMD driver experience. Both of them have their problems. I actually, last time I did have an AMD card, I quite liked their drivers more so than Nvidia's in some ways. In terms of at least the control panel that they had was quite slick, but they just aren't catching up in the areas that I need them to catch up, which is a shame. 1.8 Ti had 40% of the GPU market. Yeah, when I had my 4 graphics cards and my nice water-cooled PC, when I was pushing my 4K resolution before anybody even knew what that meant, I had 4 AMD cards, and I was very happy to have them. But they've not really given me opportunity to go back, and I'd rather support them as a company than Nvidia if I had a choice. But there we go. Were there any more? No, that is all the questions. So, Spriggan, you're hoping Intel deliver big with Battle Mage. Is that what they're calling their next line of cards? I like that they're calling them Battle Mage. Like, that's a good nerdy code name for a card. So yes, I also hope that they deliver in a big way. And Intel as a company also clearly need like stringent competition to keep their prices competitive. So Intel versus Nvidia would be a nice battleground that benefits all of us. The ATI 9800 XT was a brilliant card back when Far Cry, Doom 3 and Half-Life 2 came out. Yeah, ATI and then AMD afterwards had various high points. The 290 was a very hot high point for them as well. But since then, that's the most recent good card that I can think of from AMD. They had a couple of reasonable efforts like mid-range along the way, but they've lost the high end completely since then, which is why Nvidia can afford to charge ridiculous prices that they do. Space Citizen, you get your PlayStation 4 in 27 and you were blown away by 1080p. In 2013, I was playing at 4K because I come from the future. And I go to silly lengths. Go to silly lengths to chase silly things. And I always will. I hope I always will, because it's fun. And that's not to take away from like other people's experiences. I understand the console experience. Sometimes I just want to kick back and do that as well. The HD 2000 series was what flopped for them. It was slower than the Nvidia 8000 series, even though it came out a year after. I don't even remember HD 2000 and Nvidia's 8000. When was that? That must have been before the 290. Like the naming convention, I think they went from 290 to 480. Or was there a 380 in between? I don't know. Can't remember where they went. Isla's eyes are burning, which is a surefire sign that the show has run too long and must end. It has actually somehow got to 5 to 11. 2006-7. What's my full-time job? Wine tester. That would be nice, wouldn't it? That would be nice. I meant to GeForce 290. No, I meant... Oh, no, now the numbers are confusing me. GeForce 290. What was the... It was 9... No, Radeon had a 2090 because I had a 295X as well, which was their doubled up. I can't remember the full naming convention that AMD were using at the time, but I'm sure they had 290, 290X and 295X were the ones that I'm thinking of, because I had a mixture of those cards. I had a 295X and two 290Xs, which were essentially a four-way crossfire. Wild times, very, very hot. Anyway, end of show. So once again, everybody that is here right now, everybody that stopped by earlier, and everybody that watches after the fact, thank you as always for coming along and listening to my nonsense that is sometimes cohesive and concise, and sometimes I don't even make sense to myself. And yet you're still here, so massively appreciate it. Please do smash the like button. Next week we'll have similar format. I'm going to keep the Discord thing going. And thank you, Painful Discourse and Patrick, for coming along and letting me see how that plays out. And anybody else that wants to join that, you are welcome to. For now, play games, have fun. I've not even finished. This is so cold. This is coffee from the start of the show. I've not even got onto my main drink, so I'm going to do that. Isla's going to try and think of a question for next week. Isla, you can wear your Dragon Ball pajamas. I have nothing else to say on that. Thanks, everybody. I can't remember how to end. I still haven't thought of a good... God Emperor Sofa King has arrived in the closing moments. Thank you. We were waiting for you to get here before I could hit the end button, but now you are here. We can all sleep easy. So thank you, everyone. I'll see you next time.